I am Kate Baudinette. I'm from the Salvation Army Reservoir Corps. So Reservoir is a corps where we work mostly with young people, which is really, really exciting. One of the things that God's been saying to me is just to keep things really simple and to speak the name of Jesus, and that actually people want to hear about that. They want to hear about what Jesus can do for them. We don't run a whole lot of programs, we run a few, but really a lot of what we do is just catching up with people in the community, having coffee with people, meeting people in their homes, and just being a friend to people. That's a lot of what we spend our time doing. I think you're on their turf and they feel comfortable there. It's their space and they get to show you hospitality where they are, which is great. Them being able to share and give you something, I think they enjoy that. I think a lot of the time as a Salvation Army officer you can feel like you're the one who has to give to other people, but we can receive from other people as well, and that's part of being a friend, receiving from other people. So I think your friend, it's real friendship actually when you go into someone else's house and receive from them. I struggle with that sometimes because I have a calling on my life to minister to people, so you have that, but as much as possible I just want to be friends with the people who are in my community. One of the big benefits is that people they trust us, and they trust us with their kids, which is it's very humbling actually. So when we're able to go into people's homes and share life with them, and then they allow their kids to come and be a part of what we do, I'm always amazed at that. When people have been able to put their trust in us, it's meant that people can belong in the community, so they trust us and they send their kids, and their kids just become a part of who we are and what we do, and so it's not then just about them being friends with us, but then they have a whole network of other young people that they can be friends with and support one another. And that's the really beautiful thing too, where you see it go beyond yourself and the little thing that you've done to other young people taking on that role and supporting one another. So that's been really good. It empowers community. Yeah, and just that very simple step of going and knocking on a door and inviting yourself in, basically, to have a cup of coffee. Yeah.
Does Jesus model that at all?
Absolutely, he modelled that. He goes to Zacchaeus' home and, Zacchaeus is up in the tree and not really part of what's going on in that scene where Jesus is going through the town and not a popular member of society, and Jesus goes and stands underneath the tree and tells him, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your place today, and turns his entire world upside down. And demonstrates to other people that there's a way of doing community that is different and fresh and new, and that includes those who are so often at the margins. I think more and more the Salvation Army are into this kind of thing, and I've only had encouragement for what we're doing, and support. And there's a network of like-minded Salvation Army officers that's growing up as well, and we're able to talk to one another and hear the stories from each other, and that's an encouragement as well. So yeah, it's been good. I think my view is that you do what Jesus did and try and follow his example, and there's a trust in that as well, that you have to trust him with that part of it. I believe in the Salvation Army and believe that we're called, that the mission that we're called to is important and that it's worthwhile, and that God has a hand in that, but we have to trust him for how that's going to look. I think that he's going to do amazing things and different things, things that perhaps we haven't seen before, but I'm not scared of that. I think I'm excited. I can tell you a couple of stories about people in our community who are now, I guess, looking beyond themselves to helping others. there's one young man who he comes from a family where not only drug addiction but also drug dealing going on in the house, and a whole lot of kids in there. He became part of our community maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and now he is he works in youth organisation himself and speaks into the lives of other young people who are maybe going through similar kinds of things that he did. He's completely turned his life around. He went through a period where he was dealing drugs and, creating a lot of havoc at school, to now being a person who leads others and speaks the name of Jesus and leads other people to him. So I think this model of community can really, it brings transformation to an individual, but it goes beyond that to others as well. There's another young person, another young man in our community at the moment, a similar story, drug abuse in the household. At one point he had to stand up to his dad and say, look, if you don't stop this behaviour, I'm going to have to take my mum and my sister and leave, and I don't want to do that. So a very courageous young man, and then over the last couple of years he's joined our community and become a Christian. And to be honest, when we mentioned the name of Jesus to him, it was like it was just music to his ears, that this was the good news that he was waiting to hear. And he's become a junior soldier. So he's 16, he's become a junior soldier. He's brought his sister to church, and his mum and dad have come on occasion, and last week, this last Sunday, he brought another friend to church as well. So again, the story of someone whose life has been completely transformed and is sharing the love of Jesus with others. We do a lot of mentoring, and I think sometimes it feels like you could look at it and say, well, there's not a whole lot, the numbers are not big, but I think that in the future that there's going to be a great harvest from even just from those two individuals that I've mentioned. Jesus modelled this. He just worked with 12, and we know what happened. So I think, you do. It's almost you observe and looking for those people who are ready and for the good news, and you sow the seed and see what happens. But you've got to be prepared to invest in people for a little while, for quite some while. It's overwhelming. I often am blown away by what I get to be a part of, and it's not something you can take for granted, and I try not to, because it's just so exciting. It's amazing to be a part of that.